Chapter 3. Poison. Nanette was buried on Wednesday in a grassy space shaded by tall trees. Birds sang, and a light wind from Lake Michigan cooled the July heat. Most people at the burial were doctors and their wives, dressed in expensive suits. They seemed more curious than sad, or just doing their professional duty. There were also many professors from Marquette University, including Maxine's colleague, Dr. Virginia Goust. The reception after the burial was at Hank's house. People filled the beautiful house, talking and eating. Maxine carried her plate into the library, where there was a grand piano and tall bookcases. The walls were covered in the same Chinese material as the comfortable sofas and armchairs. French doors led outside to the garden and the swimming pool. Maxine sat down at the shining library table. Then she felt a hand on her shoulder. "Virginia!" Maxine exclaimed. She liked Virginia because she was friendly and full of energy. They had been colleagues for years and had shared the same lab at Marquette. Virginia did brilliant research for new drugs. Virginia set her plate of sandwiches on the library table and sat down. "Maxine, I've been leaving messages for you at Mercy Hospital. Why don't you call me back?" Maxine took a bite of her sandwich. "I'm sorry. I've been working so hard lately." "What do you do besides work at the ER? Have you met any nice men? Are you dating anyone?" Virginia leaned forward. "No, Virginia. I'm still learning how to be an ER doctor. After 3 years doing research at Marquette, I'd forgotten what a heartbeat sounded like," replied Maxine. Virginia raised an eyebrow. "I still don't understand why you left Marquette. You were doing excellent research." "It's only a temporary job at Mercy Hospital. I need something different to help me start my new life as a single woman. My research is waiting for me, and in 6 months I'll come back." Virginia started searching for more news. "I heard you were the doctor in the ER when Nanette died. Was she really wearing a tight leather skirt and a red wig?" Maxine looked around nervously. "Where did you hear that?" "There are no secrets in hospitals, dear. There are always people watching." "I heard that Nanette died of heart failure." Maxine frowned. "That's what the report of the autopsy said, but I think it's a mistake." "Why?" asked Virginia. "Because Nanette was a healthy woman. Hank said she had never been seriously ill. There was no reason for her to die suddenly of heart failure." Virginia nodded. "True, she used to play tennis with me at the tennis club. She was always giving parties." "Do you know why she suddenly got so sick?" "I tried to ask her where she had been before she came to the ER," Maxine went on. "But I didn't have time to talk to her before she died." "Didn't Nanette tell you anything at all?" asked Virginia. Maxine tried to remember. "Nanette said something about a pill. But Aaron tested all the pills in her purse. He said there was nothing unusual." "Do you know why she was wearing those strange clothes?" Virginia asked. "No." Maxine leaned forward and asked softly, "Have you heard anything strange about Nanette?" "Not a word," replied Virginia, loudly. "But I saw you giving Hank hungry looks at the burial. Are you having an affair with him?" Maxine gasped. "Absolutely not. And don't start telling people anything about Hank and me. We're just good friends." Maxine stood up quickly and went towards the front door. Hank was shaking hands with people who were leaving. Hank's face was pale, and his eyes were red. He held both Maxine's hands. She kissed his cheek. "I'll call you," she promised, and hurried out into the hot sun. Ahead of her was an old friend, Stanley, a brilliant professor and researcher in biochemistry at Marquette. Maxine had talked to him a lot about her own research when she needed advice. "I need to talk," said Maxine.
"You're worried about Nanette's death,"
Stanley guessed. They walked a short distance to a cafe and ordered some coffee. "There's something wrong, but I don't know what," Maxine began. "I don't even know how to start looking for the answer. In the ER, I thought that Nanette had heart failure. The heart specialist agreed. The autopsy said that she died of natural causes. But now I have started to think that her heart failure was caused by something that was not natural. I think we don't know the whole story." Stanley listened patiently as Maxine explained the details. "I feel like a failure," Maxine admitted. "Nanette came to Mercy Hospital ER and called my name. She thought I could save her, but I couldn't. Maybe I even did something wrong. Maybe it's my fault that she died."
"I'm a researcher, not an ER doctor," said Stanley. "But I work in biochemistry, so I can make an educated guess. Nanette got sick very quickly, and her body shut down very fast. Her nervous system shut down first, which caused her muscles to get weak. To me, that sounds like poison."
"Poison?" exclaimed Maxine. "Impossible. Aaron didn't find any poison when he did the autopsy."
"You can't find many poisons unless you do specific tests for them. Try to find a poison that affects the nerves and then causes heart failure, like a snake poison, for example."
"I don't understand," Maxine said. "How could she get hold of poison?"
"Before you worry about that, you have to find out which poison killed her," Stanley advised.
"How?" Maxine asked. "She's buried."
"Ask Aaron if he saved any blood from the autopsy."
"I'll do that," said Maxine. She stood up to leave.
"Wait," said Stanley. "Is this the right thing to do? Is it important to find out how Nanette died? The autopsy report says heart failure. Hank seems satisfied with that. Maybe Nanette should be left in peace."
Maxine drove to Mercy Hospital ER and arrived with enough time to go to the pathology lab and talk to Aaron. Aaron was doing an autopsy when Maxine pushed open the swinging doors of the pathology lab. He was wearing gloves, a green mask over his fat cheeks, and a large green surgical gown over his clothes. Maxine stood by the door and held a mask over her mouth. "I want to talk to you about Nanette's autopsy results," said Maxine.
"Her report's in the top drawer over there," Aaron answered.
"I don't want the report. I want you to do another test. I think Nanette was poisoned." Aaron stopped cutting.
"Poisoned?" he exclaimed. "With what?"
"A nerve poison." Aaron laughed.
"Like snake poison?"
"Maybe. Can you test for a poison that weakens the nerves and muscles, like what happened to Nanette? I want to find out why Nanette died suddenly of heart failure, and testing for nerve poison is one way to start looking," Maxine explained. Aaron raised his thick eyebrows.
"Everyone is satisfied with the autopsy results, including Hank."
"I'm not," Maxine said. "A 35-year-old woman should not suddenly die of heart failure."
"Are you worried that you did the right thing in the ER? Be careful, Maxine. If I do another test, you might find out things you don't want to know."
"Like what?"
"Like you made a mistake in the ER."
Aaron began cutting at the body on the table again.
"You know Hank well, don't you?"
he commented. "I know him casually," Maxine said. She changed the subject. "What do we do now?"
"I saved some blood when I did the autopsy. The bottle is in the freezer."
"Do you always save blood from autopsies?" Maxine asked.
Yes, for a few months anyway. Sometimes the police have come in here months after someone died and have told me to do another test.
How long will it take to get an answer? Maxine asked.
About a week. I'll have to send the blood to a special lab in Texas.
Thanks, Erin. I owe you.
You certainly do, Maxine.
Maxine was still thinking about her conversation with Erin while she drove home after work. She stopped the car in her driveway and turned off the car engine and lights. Then she stopped for a moment, her hand on the key. A man was waiting in the shadows by her front door. Hank. She got out of her car and hurried to meet him in the warm night. Maxine put her arms around him. Maxine, he said quietly.
My house is too empty. I can't go home. Let me stay here. I need a friend.
She hugged him. Stay as long as you want, she said. She made a bed for him on the couch, but they sat talking long into the night.